You could walk across the river on logs, solid enough to support your weight, solid enough for horses, solid enough for wagons sometimes. The Red River, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, 150 miles of continuous log jam, 25 feet deep in places, so dense, so compact, so stable. Men walked across, horses trotted across. The river disappeared, buried under timber. For hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years. Nobody knows exactly. The Great Raft, they called it. The largest log jam ever recorded in America, but not the only one. The St. Croix River, 1886, 7 miles long, 30 feet high, logs stacked, compressed, jammed so tight you could saw them, could walk on them, could cross the river without getting wet. The Chippewa River, multiple jams, the Au Sable, the Penobscot, rivers across America, blocked, buried, transformed into solid bridges of timber, of impossibility, of visual insanity. This is the story of log jams so massive they rewrote geography, created lakes, destroyed towns, changed river courses, made walking on water possible. Not metaphorically, literally. Actually, men walked, horses crossed, rivers disappeared. This happened. This was real. This is history. The Red River drains 93,000 square miles. 4 states, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, 1,300 miles long, carries enormous water volume, fast current, powerful flow, but for hundreds of years, maybe 1,000. The lower section was blocked, completely, totally. The Great Raft, starting around 1000 AD probably. Nobody documented the beginning. The formation, the cause, theories exist. The river changed course. Moved from Atchafalaya Basin to Mississippi River. The current shift destabilized banks, soft soil, easily erodible. Trees fell, thousands of trees, tens of thousands. The current carried them, downstream. They jammed, wedged between bends, caught on obstacles, started accumulating. More trees arrived, every flood, every spring, every year, for centuries. The jam grew, extended, solidified by 1806, when Thomas Freeman and Peter Custis explored. The jam was massive, mind-boggling, impossible seeming. Freeman described it. So tightly bound a man could walk over it in any direction. He walked on it, actually walked, on logs, over water, across the river. This wasn't exaggeration, wasn't metaphor, was literal description of impossible reality. If you're the kind of person who believes these stories deserve to be remembered, hit subscribe. The Great Red River Raft existed for maybe 1,000 years. Most Americans have never heard of it, never learned about it, never imagined rivers could be blocked for miles. Subscribe if you think impossible. Scale history deserves preservation. If you think visual insanity deserves documentation. By 1833, when Captain Henry Shreve surveyed it. The Great Raft was extraordinary. The lower end sat 10 miles upstream from Natchitoches, Louisiana, extended northward 150 miles to the Arkansas-Louisiana border, 150 miles of continuous jam, not scattered, not intermittent, continuous, solid, unbroken. The width varied, sometimes 200 feet, sometimes wider. The depth was insane, up to 25 feet, multiple layers, logs stacked, compressed, under immense pressure. The weight was astronomical. Millions of tons, tens of millions probably. The lower logs were compressed, flattened almost. The upper logs supported weight, supported plants, supported soil. Vegetation grew on top, bushes, weeds, grass, small trees sometimes. The surface looked like land, like an island, like solid ground, but underneath, water flowed, tried to flow, mostly blocked, mostly diverted. The river couldn't pass, couldn't flow normally, backed up, flooded, created lakes, Caddo Lake, Cross Lake, Wallace Lake, Bistineau Lake, Black Bayou Lake. These weren't natural lakes, were artificial, created by the jam, when the jam backed past bayou mouths. The bayous couldn't drain, flooded, created permanent lakes, beautiful lakes, still exist today, called raft lakes, unique to the Red River, unique to Louisiana, unique to this impossible phenomenon. The Caddo Indians benefited enormously. The jam protected them, isolated them. Europeans couldn't navigate upriver, couldn't reach Caddo territory, couldn't invade, couldn't conquer. For 150 years, the Caddos remained untouched, independent, safe. The jam also created farmland. Every spring flood, the river rose, uprooted trees, added to the jam, left behind fertile fields, open ground, perfect for crops. The Caddos farmed these fields, thrived, prospered. The jam was blessing, not curse. Spanish explorers made contact 1691, tried to navigate the river, failed. The jam blocked them, protected the Caddos, until Americans arrived, until technology arrived, until destruction became possible. The challenge was obvious. The Red River needed opening for navigation, for commerce, for expansion, for progress. Fort Towson established. Fort Jessup established. In 1820s, military garrisons needed supplies. The river was the highway. The jam was blockade, must be removed, must be cleared, must be destroyed. Various schemes proposed, most impractical, most impossible. Dynamite was suggested, tried briefly, failed. Couldn't reach deep logs, couldn't clear enough. 1825, Arkansas Territorial Legislature petitioned Congress for help, for funding, for action. Congress studied, delayed, debated. As always, 7 years passed. Finally, 1832, funds appropriated, solution settled. Captain Henry Shreve selected, Army engineer, superintendent of Western River Improvement. Since 1826, experienced, capable, inventive, he designed snag boats, vessels for clearing log jams, successful on other rivers, could work on Red River. Probably. Maybe. Hopefully. Shreve brought 4 snag boats. The design was brilliant. Twin hulls, each 125 feet long, connected by massive beams, incredibly strong, incredibly stable. The equipment was specialized. Rams for breaking jams, winches for pulling logs, cranes for lifting, all steam-powered, all purpose-built. The crew numbered 159 men, plus boat crews, plus support workers. The operation was military, organized, systematic. They started downstream, at the lower end, near Natchitoches. The strategy was logical, clear from bottom. Let logs float away, work upstream, gradually, systematically, completely. The work was brutal, harder than expected. The logs were enormous. A congressional report later stated, one snag raised by the Heliopolis contained 1,600 cubic feet of timber and could not have weighed less than 60 tons. 60 tons. One log. In one piece, imagine, the winches strained, the chains stretched, the crew struggled, but succeeded, slowly, gradually, incrementally. Let's examine Shreve's operation in detail. The snag boats were marvels, engineering marvels. The twin hulls provided stability, prevented capsizing, prevented sinking, critical on narrow river, with strong current, with dangerous conditions. The massive connecting beams, 12 inches square, oak timber, multiple beams, created rigid structure, created stable platform, the equipment mounted on platform, between hulls. The ram was enormous, iron ram, pointed, heavy, mounted on sliding track, steam-powered, could extend forward, between hulls, impact the jam, break it, smash it, destroy it. The force was tremendous, multiple tons, moving fast, hitting hard, logs shattered, splintered, broke apart. The winch was powerful, steam-powered, cable capacity enormous, thousands of feet, steel cable, half-inch thick, 3/4 inch, heavy, strong, could pull anything. The pulling capacity, 60 tons, maybe more, enough to extract the largest logs, the heaviest snags, the deepest timber. The crane lifted logs, vertically, out of water, onto boats, for examination, for movement, for disposal. Could lift 20 tons. maybe 30. The capacity was enormous, the capability unprecedented. The crew worked in shifts, day shift, night shift, continuous operation. Sunlight permitting, the work was dangerous, constantly dangerous. The boats positioned carefully, against jam, beside jam, close enough to reach, far enough to escape. The positioning was critical, risky. The current was strong, the jam unstable, the danger constant. The ram attacked, extended, hit, retracted, repeated, hour after hour, breaking logs, shattering timber, creating openings. The winch pulled, cable attached to selected log, the biggest log, the most accessible, the most removable. The steam engine powered, the winch turned, the cable tightened, the log resisted, held, then moved, shifted, came free, floated away, downstream, gone. Next log, same process, repeated, constantly, endlessly, for days, for weeks, for months, for years. The progress was slow, measured in feet, feet per day, sometimes feet per week. The raft was huge, the progress tiny, but persistent, inexorable, unstoppable. Eventually, the dangers were real. Workers died, multiple workers, maybe dozens. The records are incomplete, the deaths unrecorded, mostly, but they happened. The logs rolled, unexpected movement. Crushed workers between logs, against hulls, instant death. The cables snapped, under stress, under load, whipped back, struck workers, cut them, killed them. The logs launched, when ram hit, when pressure released, flew through air, struck workers, struck boats, struck everything. The current swept workers, men fell, overboard, into river, into current, couldn't swim back, couldn't reach safety, drowned, disappeared. The steam engines exploded sometimes, boilers failed, pressure too high, maintenance too poor, explosions killed, burned, scalded, destroyed. The work was deadly, the job was dangerous. The workers knew, accepted, continued, because wages were good, because alternative was unemployment, because America needed clearing, needed progress, needed the river opened. Workers provided that, at cost, at risk, at death, sometimes. Shreve understood the permanence problem, the ongoing problem, the perpetual problem. The Red River would always jam, always. The flooding would continue, the erosion would continue, the trees would continue falling, the logs would continue accumulating. Clearing wasn't permanent solution, was temporary victory, requiring maintenance, requiring constant effort, requiring ongoing funding. He told Congress this, explicitly, repeatedly, urgently. Congress ignored. Politicians heard, didn't listen, didn't care, didn't understand, thought clearing solved problem, thought work was done, thought maintenance unnecessary. They were wrong, completely, predictably, expensively. The raft reformed. Within months, started small, grew rapidly, within years, substantial, problematic, requiring new clearing, new funding, new effort. The cycle repeated. Cleared, reformed, for decades, until technology improved, until understanding increased, until prevention became possible, until dams controlled flooding, until channels were maintained, until permanent solution achieved. Finally, eventually, barely. These men didn't have YouTube channels. They didn't have anyone telling their story. We're changing that. Captain Henry Shreve and his 159-man crew cleared 150 miles of logjam, opened the Red River, made navigation possible, made Shreveport possible. Subscribe if you think massive achievements deserve remembering, if you think impossible projects deserve recognition. March 1838, 5 years after starting. The channel was cleared, open, navigable. The accomplishment was extraordinary, unprecedented, celebrated. The locals were amazed, grateful, impressed. And so impressed they named a town after Shreve. Shreveport, incorporated 1836, while work continued, while clearing proceeded. The town thrived, became major port, became wealthy, became important, because Shreve opened the river, made it possible, made it real. But Shreve warned Congress. The work wasn't finished, would never be finished. The jam would reform, the river would jam again. Constant maintenance required, constant removal, constant effort. Or the great raft returns. Congress ignored him, stopped funding, assumed completion. The raft reformed, within months, started rebuilding, started growing, started blocking. Again, Shreve was right, always right. The river's nature hadn't changed. The flooding continued. The trees continued falling. The jamming continued happening. The raft grew back, not as large, not as extensive, but substantial, problematic, dangerous. The clearing efforts resumed, stopped for decades. Funding appeared, disappeared. Political will waxed, waned. The Civil War stopped everything, 1861 to 1865. No clearing, no maintenance, no effort. The raft grew, substantially, aggressively. By 1872, the raft was massive again. Lieutenant E.A. Woodruff assigned, Army engineer, attacked the problem, used Shreve's boats, plus new tools, saws, cranes, additional vessels, more men, more equipment, more determination, and nitroglycerin. The new explosive, powerful, dangerous, effective. What couldn't be pulled was blown up. What couldn't be untangled was destroyed. The work continued. Years, decades, persistent effort, constant struggle. Finally, by 1900, the Red River was permanently open from Indian Territory to Gulf of Mexico. Navigation unobstructed, commerce flowing, the great raft defeated, finally, permanently. After maybe 1,000 years, after countless efforts, after enormous expense, over $500,000. In 1870s money, that's over $10 million modern. Just for clearing, just for removal, just for victory. The consequences were unexpected. Negative sometimes. Natchitoches suffered. The town was major port on Kine River Channel. When the raft cleared, the river changed course, flowed down different channel. Rivière de Petit Bon Dieu. Kine River dried up. Summer months particularly, Natchitoches ceased being port. Commerce ended, prosperity ended, the town declined, one town's loss, another's gain. Shreveport boomed, located upstream, benefited from clearing, became major port, prospered enormously, until tragedy struck, 1873. Yellow fever epidemic killed 759 people, 10% of population, devastating, horrible. Maybe connected to clearing, maybe unrelated, nobody knows. The raft lakes drained when jam removed. The lakes couldn't sustain, began disappearing. Beautiful lakes, unique lakes, created by impossible jam, destroyed by necessary clearing. People mourned, wanted lakes back. 1920s and 1930s, dams constructed, recreated lakes. Lake Bistineau, Black Lake, Saline Lake, others, artificial now, maintained now, but back, preserved. The great raft gone. But legacy remains. Lakes remain. Memory remains. Barely. The St. Croix river jams were different. Temporary. Man-made indirectly. Logging caused. But equally massive, equally walkable, equally impossible looking. June 1886. The biggest. 7 miles long. Some reports say longer. 30 feet high above water level, logs stacked, compressed, under enormous pressure, 150 million board feet, stuck, jammed, blocked. The jam started at Angle Rock, Dalles section, narrow gorge, sharp turn, millions of logs released simultaneously. Flooding, heavy rain, multiple tributaries, all sending logs, too many, too fast. The river couldn't handle, couldn't process. Logs wedged, stuck, jammed, more arrived, piled on, stacked higher, extended farther, 7 miles, eventually, maybe more. The width varied, 200 feet in places, 50 feet in narrows. The depth was insane, 100 feet in deepest spots, multiple layers, dozens of logs stacked. The pressure was astronomical. The river kept flowing, kept pushing. The logs compressed, Cracked sometimes, exploded sometimes. Under pressure, under force, dangerous. Deadly, unstable, but solid enough, stable enough. Workers walked on it, had to break it, to clear it. Carried tools, peavies, pike poles, axes, dynamite, walked across, from bank to bank. The river invisible, buried under timber. The visual was insane, impossible seeming, but real. Very real. Photographs exist. Show workers, standing on logs, middle of river, technically, but nowhere near water, dozens of feet above. The jam supported weight, supported movement, supported everything, until it broke, until the key logs removed, until the pressure released. Then catastrophe. The jam surged, moved like avalanche. Workers ran, escaped. Usually, sometimes not. Some fell, some caught, some crushed, some drowned. The danger was constant. The risk was real, but necessary. The clearing was essential. The jam threatened everything. Mills closed. Workers unemployed. Town economy collapsed. Had to be cleared. Had to succeed. Workers accepted risk, walked the logs, crossed the river, did the impossible. Daily, for 57 days, until success, until breakthrough, until victory. Similar jams occurred everywhere, anywhere logging happened. Let's examine specific examples, documented examples, measured examples. The Chippewa River, Wisconsin, 1869 jam was legendary. Started at Beef Slough, narrow section, sharp bend, perfect jam location, logs wedged, millions of logs. The jam extended 18 miles, upstream from Beef Slough, blocked the entire river. The depth reached 40 feet. In deepest sections, workers described walking across, bank to bank, on solid timber, never touching water. The jam lasted 6 weeks, May through June. Finally broke, massive surge. Heard miles away, like thunder, like earthquake. The water rose, downstream, sudden flood, 6 feet in minutes, swept away everything, boats, docks, buildings near shore. The power was immense, the destruction substantial, but temporary. River returned to normal within hours, within a day. The jam memory persisted, forever. The Au Sable River, Michigan, regular jams every year, expected, predictable, part of operations. The river was narrow, fast, twisting, perfect for jamming. 1883 jam was exceptional. Started at 5 channels, where river splits, 5 separate channels, perfect chaos point. Logs entered all channels, simultaneously, all jammed, simultaneously. The backup was immediate, catastrophic, extended 12 miles upstream, blocked all channels, all passages, completely. The width varied, each channel different, 50 feet. When 80 feet, 100 feet. The depth averaged 20 feet. Some sections deeper, 30 feet, 40 feet. Multiple layers, dozens of logs thick. Workers walked everywhere, crossed channels, crossed main stem, crossed everything, on logs, on timber, on impossibility. The clearing took 4 weeks, required 200 workers, used dynamite, used winches, used horses, used steam power, used everything. Finally succeeded. The jam broke, section by section, channel by channel, gradually, carefully, controlled as possible. The logs flowed, continued downstream, reached mills, eventually. Operations resumed, finally. The Penobscot River, Maine, legendary jams, annual jams, expected jams, part of Maine logging, part of Maine economy, part of Maine identity. The biggest jam, 1876, started at Bangor, the Penobscot boom, where logs were sorted by owner, by destination. The boom was complex, multiple sections, multiple piers, multiple channels. When flood came, extraordinary flood, everything broke. Boom piers, boom chains, everything. Millions of logs, released simultaneously, surged downstream, hit bridges, destroyed them, hit boom at Bangor, overwhelmed it, created massive jam, through Bangor, through downtown, through city center. The river disappeared, buried under logs, 50 feet deep, in places, maybe deeper. The jam extended 10 miles, through city, downstream from city, into countryside. Workers walked through Bangor, on logs, middle of downtown, on what should be water, was timber, was solid, was insane. Residents watched, photographed, marveled. The visual was stunning, impossible, real. The clearing took 2 months. Required every river pig in Maine, hundreds of workers, from every company, every operation, all cooperating, all working together, used every technique, every tool, every method, finally succeeded. August 1876. The river returned, the city recovered, the memory persisted. The Northwest jams were different. Larger logs, bigger timber, Douglas fir, Sitka spruce, enormous trees, 50 feet long, 3 feet diameter, 4 feet sometimes. Each log weighed tons, multiple tons, 5 tons, 6 tons, more. When these jammed, the scale was incredible. The Columbia River, 1885, near Cascade Locks. The gorge, narrow, fast, dangerous, perfect jamming location. A flood released extraordinary volume. Timber from multiple camps, millions of board feet, tens of millions, all entering simultaneously. The river couldn't handle, couldn't process. Jammed immediately, catastrophically. The jam was brief, only 3 miles, but deep, incredibly deep, 60 feet, 70 feet, multiple layers, massive logs, stacked, compressed. The weight was astronomical, millions of tons. The pressure immense, unimaginable. Workers walked it, carefully, fearfully. These logs could kill, easily, instantly, just by rolling, just by shifting. The danger was extreme, but necessary. The clearing required it, required walking, required accessing, required risking. The workers did it, succeeded. The jam broke after 2 weeks, with dynamite, with many charges, with enormous effort. The surge was legendary. Heard for miles, felt for miles. The ground shook like earthquake. The water rose 20 feet, downstream, instant flood, destroyed everything near shore, but freed the river, open navigation, restored flow. The Willamette River, Oregon, regular jams, expected jams, part of operations. 1890 jam was enormous. Started at Willamette Falls, Oregon City. The falls was natural barrier. Logs had to be portaged, or sluiced, or lifted. The system was complex, prone to failure. During high water, extraordinary volume. The system failed, overwhelmed. Logs backed up, jammed, extended upstream, 5 miles, 7 miles, 10 miles eventually. The depth varied, 20 feet average, 40 feet maximum, workers described. Walking on logs, for miles, never seeing water, never touching water, just logs, just timber, just impossibility. The jam took 3 weeks to clear, required coordination. Multiple companies, multiple crews, hundreds of workers. The Portland newspaper covered it extensively, multiple articles, multiple photographs. Show workers, standing on jams, middle of river, tools in hand, looking small, against massive scale, against impossible backdrop. The photos survive in Oregon Historical Society, available today, viewable today, proof, documentation, evidence. This happened. This was real. The technique for breaking jams required understanding, required experience, required courage. The river pig, the jam breaker, the expert, he studies the jam, walks it, examines it, looking for clues. The key log, the holding log, the one supporting everything. It's never obvious, never clear, never marked. But it's there, always there, somewhere. He looks for stress, for pressure, for bending. Logs under stress. Bend slightly, crack sometimes, make sounds, creaking, groaning, complaining. The expert listens, hears the jam, understands its language, its communication, its warnings. He tests logs with peavey, with pike pole, pushing, pulling, feeling resistance, feeling give, feeling movement. Some logs move easily, not key logs. Some logs don't move. Might be key logs, might not. Must investigate, must test. must understand. He marks suspects, mentally usually, remembers positions, remembers features, plans approach, plans attack, plans attempt. The removal requires coordination, team effort, multiple workers, multiple tools, multiple techniques. If keylog is accessible near edge, near surface, use PVs. Team of 8, 10, 12. All position PVs, all grip, all prepare, on count, all pull, together, synchronize. The log resists, initially, holds, then gives, moves, shifts, slides, comes free, if correct key. The jam breaks, immediately, thunderously, thousands of logs. Moving, surging, workers run, fast, to shore, to safety, to survival. If incorrect log, nothing happens. Try again, different log, different attempt, different hope. If key log inaccessible, deepen jam, under other logs. Use dynamite, dangerous, unpredictable, but necessary. The experts place charges, carefully, strategically, multiple charges, different depths, different locations, wire them together, electric detonation. Safer, more reliable, more controlled. The moment arrives. Everyone clear, everyone safe, everyone ready. The detonation, the explosion, the sound, incredible, deafening, echo, reverberate. The jam shakes, shifts, breaks, usually, sometimes, hopefully, if successful. The logs flow, the river returns. The victory complete, if unsuccessful. More charges, more attempts, more explosions, until success, until breakthrough. Until completion, the physical sensation of walking on jams is described by survivors, by workers, by witnesses. The surface is uneven, rough, dangerous, logs at different heights, different angles, different positions, gaps between logs, wide gaps, deep gaps, fatal gaps, step wrong, fall through, disappear, die. The walker steps carefully, very carefully, tests each log, before weight transfer, before commitment. The log might roll, might sink, might shift. Any movement is deadly, is falling, is drowning, is death. The logs are wet, slippery, covered in bark, loose bark, sliding bark. The footing is terrible, treacherous. The worker uses PV as walking stick, as balance pole, as safety tool. Plants it, steps, plants it, steps, slow progress, careful progress, safe progress, hopefully. The sound is distinctive, creaking, groaning, shifting. The jam talks, constantly, warns, threatens, promises. The workers listen, always listening, always aware, always careful. Survival depends on attention, on caution, on respect, for the jam, for the river, for the danger. The downstream effect of jam breaking is dangerous, deadly sometimes. The logs surge, move fast, very fast, faster than running, faster than horses, 40 miles per hour, maybe faster. A wall of logs, of timber, of destruction, moving downstream, destroying everything. Boats, docks, buildings, bridges, anything near water, anything in path. The sound proceeds, like thunder, like warning, like alarm. Smart people run, immediately, to high ground, to safety, to survival. Not everyone is smart, not everyone runs. Some watch, some delay, some die, crushed, drowned, disappeared, bodies found downstream. Days later, weeks later, miles away. The surge passes, minutes, the danger passes, the river returns to normal, to flow, to peace, temporary peace, until next jam, until next flood, until next disaster. The cycle continues, repeats, forever, as long as logging continues, as long as rivers flow, as long as timber floats. The technique for breaking jams required understanding, experience, skill. The key log must be identified, the one log, holding everything, supporting everything, creating everything. Remove it. Everything breaks, everything flows, everything clears, but finding it, identifying it, that's the skill, the art, the expertise. Experienced river pigs could identify it, could see it, could know it. Somehow, instinctively, they'd walk the jam, examine logs, study positions, look for clues, the stress points, The pressure lines, the leverage points. They'd mark the key log, mentally, physically sometimes, chalk marks, axe blazes, then prepare, position dynamite, or attach chains, or set PV teams, ready to pull, ready to pry, ready to remove. The moment of truth, the attempt. Pull the key log, pry it, blow it, remove it. If correct, the jam breaks, immediately, catastrophically, beautifully. The logs surge, flow, spread, thousands of logs, moving simultaneously, like avalanche, like flood, like miracle. The river reappears, water visible, flowing, the jam gone, dissolved, disappeared. If incorrect, nothing happens. Try again. Different log, different approach, different hope. The danger was extreme. Workers died, regularly, predictably, inevitably. Some fell during walking. Logs shifted, rolled, sank. The worker fell between logs and crushed, drowned. Recovery impossible. Body lost, family notified. Eventually, burial without body, grave without remains. Some died during breaking. The jam broke. Unexpected timing, unexpected violence. The worker couldn't escape, couldn't run fast enough, couldn't reach safety. Caught, crushed, carried away, bodies found downstream. Days later, weeks later, sometimes. Some died from flying logs. The pressure released. Logs exploded, launched into air like missiles, like artillery. Killed anything hit, workers, horses, equipment. The sound was distinctive. Crack, then whoosh, then impact, then death, unpredictable, unavoidable, random. The workers accepted this, accepted death, accepted risk, had no choice, no alternative, needed work, needed money, needed survival, took chances, walked logs, died sometimes. This was logging. This was river work. This was 1880s America. If you want to go deeper into these stories, if you want early access to videos before anyone else sees them, join the membership. It's for people who don't just watch history, they carry it forward. The log jams that blocked entire rivers that you could walk across are completely forgotten. Almost nobody knows. Join the membership if you want to help preserve these impossible stories. The economic impact was enormous. When rivers jammed, commerce stopped, completely, totally. Log drives couldn't proceed. Logs couldn't reach mills. Mills couldn't operate. Workers couldn't work. Towns couldn't function. The cascade was immediate, rapid, devastating. The Red River raft, for centuries, prevented navigation, prevented commerce, prevented development, western Louisiana, eastern Texas. Couldn't develop, couldn't prosper, until raft removed, until navigation opened, then boom, rapid development, town creation, wealth generation. The economic benefit of clearing, of opening was millions, multiple millions. The St. Croix Jam, 1886, threatened Stillwater, nearly bankrupted town. Mills closed 57 days, no income, no wages, no commerce. The clearing cost, enormous but necessary, but essential, but unavoidable. Every major jam, every massive blockage meant economic disaster, local disaster, regional sometimes. The impact spread, amplified, multiplied. Clearing wasn't optional, was mandatory, was survival. The visual legacy is photographs, precious few. Most jams occurred before photography, or before cameras reached remote areas. But some photographs exist, survive. The St. Croix, 1886. Multiple photographs show the scale, show the impossibility. Workers standing, middle of logs, middle of river, technically, the jam stretching, miles, both directions, 30 feet high, solid, impenetrable, incredible. The Red River raft. No photographs exist, too early, 1830s clearing, pre-photography, or before cameras reached Louisiana, descriptions survive, written accounts, vivid accounts. Freeman, Shreve, Woodruff, others, they describe walking, describe crossing, describe impossibility. We must imagine, visualize, understand. 150 miles of logs, so solid, horses crossed, so stable, vegetation grew, so permanent, existed centuries. This happened. This was real. This is history. The modern world is forgotten completely. Almost nobody knows. Rivers blocked for miles, for decades, for centuries, walking on logs, across rivers, horses crossing, on timber. These facts, these realities, lost, erased, forgotten. The Great Red River Raft, one of largest engineering challenges of 19th century, one of most expensive projects, one of longest lasting blockages, unknown, unremembered, untaught, the St. Croix Jam, 1886, one of largest, one of most photographed, one of best documented, forgotten, lost, gone. This is injustice, this is tragedy, this is what we correct, by telling stories, by preserving memories, by explaining impossibilities. Log jams, massive jams, walkable jams, river-blocking jams, century-lasting jams. They happened, they mattered, they changed America. We must remember, must preserve, must tell. The Great Raft, the St. Croix, the Chippewa, the Penobscot, all the rivers, all the jams, all the impossibilities. This is history. This is our history. This is American history, forgotten, lost, being recovered by us. Now, here, today, forever. The scale is impossible to comprehend. Modern perspective helps. Imagine the Red River, 150 miles of continuous blockage. That's Chicago to Milwaukee, Dallas to Houston, Los Angeles to San Diego. Pick any comparable distance. Now imagine it, completely blocked, with logs, 25 feet deep, solid enough to walk, solid enough for horses, for centuries. This happened. This was real. Or the St. Croix, 7 miles of jam, 30 feet high, that's 7 miles, of solid timber, blocking everything. Imagine interstate highway, 7 miles, completely blocked, with cars stacked 30 feet, can't pass, can't move, can't function for 2 months. This is comparable. This is analogous. This is what happened with logs, with rivers, with impossibility, made real. The photographs that survive are precious, invaluable, irreplaceable. The St. Croix Jam, 1886. Multiple photographs exist. Show workers standing on logs, middle of river, technically, but nowhere near water, 20 feet above, 30 feet above. The river invisible, buried. The scale is stunning. The photographs show miles of logs extending, both directions, to horizon, beyond horizon. The workers look tiny, insignificant, against massive backdrop, against impossible scale, against visual insanity. These photographs preserve, document, prove this happened. This was real. This is history. The Penobscot Jam. 1876. One photograph survives, shows downtown Bangor, the river, completely covered with logs. Buildings visible, bridge visible, river invisible. Just logs, everywhere. The visual impact, enormous. Undeniable. The photograph proves, documents, preserves. We're fortunate it exists, survived, remains. Most jams, no photographs, occurred too early, before cameras, before documentation, before preservation. We have descriptions, written accounts, vivid descriptions. Must imagine, must visualize, must understand. Through words, through imagination, through effort. The environmental impact was substantial, permanent sometimes. The Great Raft existed centuries. Changed the river, changed permanently. The scouring was continuous, under pressure, under weight. The riverbed eroded, deepened, changed shape, changed course multiple times. The raft forced changes, created channels, created bypasses, created new routes, some permanent, some temporary. The lakes created, raft lakes, changed landscape, changed ecology, changed everything. Permanently. These lakes still exist. Caddo Lake, Bistineau Lake, others. Beautiful lakes, valuable lakes, important lakes. Wouldn't exist without raft, without jam, without blockage. The ecology adapted, to lakes, to permanent water, to new habitat, fish, birds, plants, animals, all adapted, all changed, all evolved with the lakes because of lakes. The clearing threatened this. Destroyed lakes, initially, eventually rebuilt, with dams, with engineering. Preserved, but different. Maintained. Not natural. The naturalness lost. The wildness lost. The originality lost. Forever. The cultural impact is invisible but real. The Great Raft isolated Caddo Indians, protected them for 150 years. This isolation preserved culture, preserved language, preserved traditions. Longer than otherwise, the Caddos developed differently. It's because of isolation, because of protection, because of raft. When Europeans finally arrived, made contact, the Caddos were different, more intact, more traditional than other tribes, than tribes with earlier contact. This mattered. This was significant. This was valuable. The clearing destroyed protection, opened territory, enabled invasion, enabled displacement, enabled destruction. The Caddo culture survived, barely, diminished, changed, but survived. Thanks partly to raft, to isolation, to protection. The jam had human cost, economic cost, also human benefit, cultural benefit, historical benefit. We remember costs, forget benefits, remember destruction, forget protection, remember clearing, forget isolation. This is incomplete, this is biased, this is wrong. We must remember everything, acknowledge everything, understand everything. The raft, the jams, were complex, multifaceted, good and bad, beneficial and harmful, depending on perspective, on position, on understanding. The economic transformation was profound, permanent, revolutionary. Before clearing, the Red River, western Louisiana, eastern Texas, undeveloped, isolated, poor, frontier, after clearing. Developed rapidly, towns founded, commerce established, wealth created, Shreveport became major city. Because of clearing, because of navigation, because of access. Hundreds of towns, thousands of businesses, millions of dollars in wealth, in value, in prosperity, all because river cleared, all because jam removed, all because Shreve succeeded. The investment, $500,000, 1830s to 1870s. That's tens of millions modern, maybe 100 million. The return, incalculable. Hundreds of millions, billions probably. The economic benefit, far exceeded the clearing cost, the investment, the effort. This is why it mattered, why it happened, why it succeeded. Economics, always economics. Money, always money. Progress, always progress. The cost, in lives, in environment, in culture, secondary, unfortunate, regrettable, but acceptable. This was American thinking. This was 19th century values. This was progress mindset. We inherited this, we continue this, we accept this, mostly. This is what we question, what we examine, what we challenge. Now, finally, slowly. The skills are lost, completely, permanently. Nobody alive today has broken massive jam, has walked miles of logs, has identified key logs, has coordinated hand clearing. These skills, these capabilities, these understandings, died with workers, died with generation, died with era. We use machines now, explosives, remote equipment, no walking, no handwork, no personal risk, safer, more efficient, more reliable, but less skilled, less impressive, less human. The old river pigs could read jams, understand structure, predict behavior, find key logs, by sight, by sound, by feel, by intuition, by experience. Years of experience, decades sometimes. This expertise, this mastery, this capability, gone, lost, unrecoverable. We couldn't clear jams manually now, couldn't organize crews, couldn't coordinate effort, couldn't succeed. The knowledge is lost, the skills are lost, the capability is lost. This is tragic. This is permanent. This is irreversible. We document what we can, preserve what remains, honor what existed, but can't recover, can't restore, can't revive. The past is past. The skills are gone. The workers are dead. The capability is lost, forever. We remember, though. We honor, we acknowledge. The river pigs, the jam breakers, the men who walked on impossibility, on danger, on death. Who succeeded, who saved, who cleared rivers for commerce, for progress, for America. We remember them, we honor them, we tell their stories, so they're not forgotten, not erased, not lost, like their skills, like their capabilities, like their era. We preserve memory. If not capability, we honor achievement. If not method, we remember, if nothing else. We remember, always, forever, now. What remains today? What visitors can see, what evidence survives? The Red River flows freely, clearly. No trace of great raft remains. Physically, the clearing was complete. The removal was total. But the raft lakes remain. Caddo Lake, most famous, largest, most beautiful. Moss-draped cypresses, mysterious waters, unique ecosystem. Wouldn't exist without raft, created by raft, preserved by dam, now protected. Louisiana State Park, Texas State Park, shared resource, shared treasure, visitors can see, can experience, can understand, partially, the lake that shouldn't exist, the water that raft created, the legacy that persists. Bistineau Lake also remains. Black Lake, Saline Lake, all protected, all preserved, all accessible. These are raft evidence, raft legacy, raft memory, physical memory, geographical memory, ecological memory. The raft changed landscape, permanently, visibly. These lakes prove it, document it, preserve it. The St. Croix River also flows freely. The 1886 jam site, near Taylor's Falls, near St. Croix Falls. The river looks normal now, peaceful, beautiful, scenic. Interstate State Park preserves the gorge, the Dalles, where jam occurred. Visitors can see the narrow channel, the angle rock, where jam started, where first log wedged, where disaster began. The scale is apparent, the narrowness visible, the danger obvious. Understanding comes, slowly, gradually, imagining 7 miles of logs, 30 feet high, filling this channel, this gorge, this impossibility. The photographs help, displayed at park, at visitor center, show the jam, show the scale, show the reality. Modern visitors stare, marvel, struggle to believe. The visual evidence helps, makes real, makes believable, makes memorable. The park interpretive signs explain the jam, describe the clearing, honor the workers, preserve the memory. This is important, this is valuable, this is necessary. So history isn't lost, isn't forgotten, and isn't erased. The Chippewa River, the Au Sable, the Penobscot, all flow freely now, all cleared permanently. Logging ended, log drives ended, jams ended, the era ended. What remains? Photographs mostly, written accounts, historical markers, museum displays, the lumberjack museums, Wisconsin, Michigan, Maine, all tell stories, display photographs, preserve memory. Visitors can learn, can see, can understand. The massive jams, the walkable rivers, the impossible reality. The museums do service, important service, preservation service. They keep alive. What would die? What would disappear? What would be lost? Without effort, without care, without dedication? We owe these museums, these preservationists, these historians, our gratitude, our support, our attention. They preserve our history, our heritage, our impossible past. We must support them, must visit them, must learn from them. So the stories survive. So the memory persists. So the knowledge continues, generation to generation, forever. Hopefully. The lesson is clear, the pattern is obvious, the truth is undeniable. America was built on impossibilities, on achievements, on accomplishments. that seem impossible, that were impossible, until they weren't. Walking across rivers, on logs, clearing century-old blockages, opening navigation, transforming geography. These weren't normal, weren't easy, weren't simple, were impossible. Until Americans, until workers, until river pigs, until Captain Shreve made them possible, made them real, made them accomplished. This is American history. This is American character. This is American achievement. We face impossibilities. We don't retreat. We don't surrender. We attack. We solve. We accomplish. The log jams seemed impossible, seemed permanent, seemed eternal, but weren't. Were temporary, were solvable, were clearable, because men worked, because men tried, because men succeeded against impossibility, against obstacles, against nature itself. This is what we remember, what we honor, what we preserve. Not just the achievements, but the spirit, the determination, the refusal to accept impossible. This spirit built America, built everything, built success. We inherit this, we carry this, we continue this, we face our impossibilities, we solve our blockages, we clear our rivers, metaphorically now, but with same spirit, same determination, same refusal, to accept impossible, to accept defeat, to accept failure. The log jams teach us, inspire us, challenge us to do likewise in our time. With our challenges, with our impossibilities, to make possible what seems impossible, to accomplish what seems impossible, to succeed against all odds, like river pigs, like Captain Shreve, like Americans, always, forever, now.